All right, so today we're diving into Russian President Vladimir Putin's really high-stakes visit to India. What does it all tell us about the shifting sands of global power? Let's break it down.
Looking at Putin's latest visit to India, you can't help but get this weird sense of déjà vu. The whole geopolitical scene feels almost exactly like it did when he made his very first trip there, way back in 2000. So what's really going on? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, let's start by looking back. We're going to compare the world of 2000, when Putin first visited, with the world of today. And yeah, a lot has changed for sure. But what's really fascinating is how much has stayed exactly the same.
So picture this, it's the year 2000. Putin is the new guy in charge, and he's visiting an India that's kind of on the outs with the West because of its nuclear tests. Meanwhile, Russia's still shaky, trying to figure itself out after the Soviet Union fell apart. Now, hit the fast forward button to today, and it's like we're hearing an echo. Russia's isolated again, this time because of Ukraine, and India is right back to walking that fine line, trying to deal with all that Western pressure. It's wild, right? In both moments, they kind of found themselves pushed into a corner together, but there's one thread that has tied them together through all of it.
And that thread, it's all about defense. The absolute bedrock of the India-Russia relationship has always been their military partnership. This is a holdover from the Soviet days, and believe me, it still dictates some of their biggest strategic moves even now.
And wow, this really shows you just how deep that dependency goes. Look at this. India's been diversifying, right? Buying stuff from the US, from France, but still, a whopping 60% of its military gear comes from Russia. That's not just some number on a page. That's a real-world, operational fact that has massive implications for how ready India's military is at any given moment.
And that's 60%. It's not just about shiny new jets or missiles. Think about all the stuff they already have. The tanks, the ships, the planes that have been in service for years. All of that, it runs on Russian spare parts. It needs Russian technicians. It's basically a lifeline, a critical one that keeps New Delhi firmly connected to Moscow.
Yeah, everyone talks about the big, flashy systems like the S-400, and they're important, no doubt. But the real day-to-day dependency, it's in the nuts and bolts, the constant need for spare parts. And here's where it gets tricky. That lifeline is starting to fray. The war in Ukraine has apparently put a huge strain on Russia's defense industry, and that means delays for India. So, just as that traditional pillar of their relationship is looking a bit shaky, a completely new one has shot up out of nowhere.
And that new pillar is all about oil and trade. Seriously, this new economic piece of the puzzle has just exploded onto the scene, and it has changed the game between them practically overnight.
Just look at these numbers. It's pretty stark, isn't it? As soon as the war in Ukraine kicked off, India started buying up huge amounts of Russian oil at a discount. And you can't blame them, right? It was a smart play to keep their own energy prices down. But check out that imbalance. India is buying a ton of stuff from Russia, but Russia is barely buying anything back. It's completely lopsided.
And all that oil, it's boosted their total trade to an insane, record-breaking $68.7 billion. But here's the catch. This whole new economic relationship, it's like a house of cards, built on one thing and one thing only: cheap oil. The second that discount shrinks, and with Western sanctions getting tighter, Indian companies are going to start shopping elsewhere. This entire pillar could collapse just as fast as it was built. Okay, so let's recap. The old defense relationship is feeling the pressure. The new oil relationship is super fragile. So what is the glue holding all of this together? What's the real driver here? Well, for India, the answer is actually pretty simple, and it's all about China.
And we're not talking about some abstract, far-off threat here. This is real. India has 50,000 troops staring down Chinese forces across a very tense border. For the government in New Delhi, everything, and I mean everything, revolves around managing the challenge from Beijing. And if that's your number one priority, the last thing you can afford to do is tick off a military giant like Russia, especially one that's literally China's next-door neighbor.
And this quote right here, from a former top ambassador, it just cuts right to the heart of India's biggest fear. You've got Russia and China declaring this no-limits partnership. For India, that's a total nightmare. The question that must keep strategists in Delhi up at night is, what if Russia shares our military secrets with our biggest rival? It's an assurance Putin gives them, sure, but you can bet they are checking and double-checking that promise all the time. So what do?
This whole situation forces India to perform one of the craziest diplomatic high-wire acts you'll see anywhere in the world. They have to keep Russia close, they have to woo the West, and they have to stand up to China, all at the very same time. It's an incredible juggling act.
And it all boils down to this: a super calculated, multi-layered strategy. It's all about protecting India's own interests in a world that's splitting more and more into rigid camps.
So here's the playbook, plain and simple. Step 1. Stick with Russia for the military hardware you absolutely need to stay strong. Step 2. Team up with the West for the money and the tech you need to grow your economy. And the whole point of all this? To play both sides against the middle, using those relationships to push back against China. It's the ultimate strategy of not putting all your eggs in one basket.
And that's why this visit, the red carpet, all the pomp and circumstance, it's all theater. But it's theater with a purpose and with a very specific audience in mind. It's a signal to the West that says, hey, we call our own shots. And it's a signal to China that says, don't get any ideas. We've got powerful friends in our corner too.
Which brings us to the big $1 billion question. This whole balancing act, it's worked for India up until now, but we're living in a world where everyone is being asked to pick a side. The lines are being drawn in the sand. So you have to wonder, how long can India really keep walking this tightrope before it snaps?